Hi there. So in this mini tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can connect subscribers that subscribe on your Squarespace site and send them over to Drip. As you know or may have experienced, whenever someone subscribes to a form or newsletter on your Squarespace site, Squarespace only allows you to send that data either to your personal email account, to a Google Sheets account, or to MailChimp. That's your only options. That's unfortunate if you use an email provider such as Drip, but there is a workaround, and all it requires you to do is have a Google Sheets account and to also have a Zapier account, which Zapier is an amazing tool. You'll use it for a lot more than just this. So I do suggest signing up for it, and then we'll use the free level at this point. But you'll see what it does and how we can go ahead and do that. So before we begin, I do want to show you, if you did watch the tutorial on how to connect your Drip JavaScript tracking code to your Squarespace website, as you can see here, now that code is tracking and Drip is basically living on my Squarespace site. I have a widget enabled, so that's why this is popping up. It's, a demo widget from my consultant demo account. And that is another way that you can collect email addresses, is by having this widget. You can stylize the color, do whatever you need to for branding, whatever you want. Optional, you can also take it off. I'm just going to minimize that because we don't need that right now. What we need to create a form on our Squarespace site, if you don't have one already, a form created already, you just go into the page you want to edit and you go ahead and look for that little teardrop, and you can choose form or newsletter. Newsletter is just going to collect the email address. I actually want to create a form because I'm going to show you how you can create more than just one option, one piece of data. So let's let this form page load. And I'm going to rename this form. Let's say this is a consultant's workbook. So consultant's workbook, it's a little slow here. Give that a minute. Should never take that long, but all right. I don't need message, so I'm going to delete message. I don't need subject. I'm going to delete that field. And name, I'll show you why I'm going to delete name and actually instead collect first name, and last name. And let's say I also wanted to find out a little bit more about them. So what is your business type? So I'm going to make that a radio button. Squarespace gives you that option in their forms. And I want to make sure that I give the options. So you can be a service. Oh boy, there's a little delay here just because I have the camera open, but okay. All right, let's make that a required field. And before we hit apply, what we're going to do is, let me just make sure I hit done. Now we have to go ahead and tell it where we want to send storage. So you want to tell them what email address you want it to send it to. In my case, I'm going to send it to my business email. And this is just mainly good if you're just starting out, you want notifications when people sign up. You can specify, and that way you'll get notifications. If you start having a ton of subscribers sign up, you may want to disable that because you're going to get inundated with emails. The other thing I want to do is connect to my Google Drive account. I'm going to choose the account that I want to host my Google Sheets. And this is super important. So when naming the sheets, don't just name it newsletter sign up or sign up lists. Be specific, because you might have different forms that are for specific reasons. You might have a form where people can sign up for your free workbook and you want them to go on a specific list or campaign. Or you might have people who sign up just for your newsletter and your weekly blog updates, and you want them to go into that list. So you want to specify. Let's say this is my consultants workbook, like we said. So consultants workbook, the free download that they're getting. All right, let's go ahead and save that. Okay, now look into our Google Sheets and look what's been created, Consultants Workbook. Open that up and you'll see all the fields that I asked for are here. First name, last name, business type, email address. So we're good. And the minute someone signs up here, that data is going to appear here. So just for the purposes of testing this out, let's go ahead and fill in my information and sign up. Perfect. And look what's happened. Email address, Jennifer Nelson Service. I'm in there. Wonderful. Okay, so our form is working and it's sending data over to Google Sheets. The next thing we want to do is go into Zapier. So let's go ahead and we're going to actually start a news app. And like I said, Zapier, what it does, it's there to connect tools. So in this case, what we want to do, we already connected Squarespace to Google Sheets. Now you want to connect Google Sheets to Drip. So just so I know that that's what's happening, I'm going to name it that way, Squarespace. It was the consultants workbook, because you will have to create this if you do have multiple different sign-up forms, just like you have multiple sheets. So I'm going to say consultants workbook. And that's going to Drip. So that's what I know. This is the way I know what's happening. If I ever were to look at this, a long time from now, Squarespace, consultants workbook going into Drip. Again, if I had something for our blog post updates, people sign up for that list, that can go into Drip that way as well. You can just send everyone into a list, and just have, one form going to the list, and then you start segmenting people in your Drip account separately. I personally think this is just a better way and probably easier way for you, even though it does just require, a bit of that setup work up front. Okay, I labeled this. Now the next thing I want to do is set the trigger. So Zapier, by trigger, it's saying, hey, what do you want me to listen for? What kind of data and what tool do you want me to send it to? So in this case, it's Google Sheets. That's going to be where the data is coming from. And I want Zapier to listen when a new row is added into my Google Sheets. So every time a new entry is added, Zapier is going to listen for that and start signaling. I already connected my Google Sheets account, and I already tested it, so it's fine. But when you're doing it for the first time, it'll just have you go ahead and enter in your credentials. And then it's going to say, hey, you have a lot of sheets in there. Which one do you want me to choose? In this case, it's the consultant's workbook that I just selected. And then it's saying, hey, which worksheet? I only have one worksheet here. As you can see here, most of you will also have one worksheet. So that's what you can do. Just to kind of, other ways you can set it up. Maybe you have a main Squarespace newsletter sign up form, and maybe you do it that way, where one sheet is labeled consultant's workbook. The second sheet is labeled blog post updates. The third, you could do it that way too. So it's up to you and how you set that up. In terms of trigger column, it's when any column is triggered. So just leave that as it is, hit continue. That's fine, all the data's here. We're gonna hit fetch and continue. It says a success, it read everything as it should. Hit continue again. And now what I'm doing here, so now we know what's triggering it. It's basically when a Google Sheet row is updated. So once that happens, we want the action to be send this data to Drip. So I'm gonna hit Drip, it's showing up here. And you can do a couple of things. You can create or update a subscriber, which just means adding someone onto your Drip account, just as is, as a subscriber. You can trigger an event, which means, that subscriber is it can say, hey, signed up through Squarespace. Don't worry about that right now. I think that's a little bit advanced for the purposes of what we're doing. Or you could subscribe to a specific campaign. So it's up to you. Just for basic training purposes here, I'm going to use subscribe to a campaign because I want this person to go into my welcome series within Drip. And I already created this welcome series campaign in Drip already. If I go to campaigns, consultant welcome series, there it is. I want them to go in here. So that's what I'm going to tell Zapier to do. Subscribe to a campaign. Next, it's going to ask me which campaign. So let's do that. So first it wants to know which account within Drip. I have a couple of accounts because I am a consultant, so some of my clients are here, but I'm just going to choose my demo account. You will, of course, choose your main account. Here it's going to say, hey, what campaign? So searching for the campaign I just told you about, Consultant Welcome Series. And then it's saying, this is all mapping out data. So it's saying, hey, Drip in email. When Drip's saying collecting email, what do you want us to map it to within that Google Sheet? So map the Drip email in Drip to the email address on the Google Sheet, which you can see we have the email address there. That's standard. And then time zone, you can just leave blank. You can leave out, it's optional. You don't have to do anything there. Double opt-in, the default is to send that person a double opt-in. You may also have a double opt-in already on the campaign within Drip. Just depends on your settings. Just for the purposes of this, you can say no. And I have reasons why you should or should not use a double opt-in, but again, just for this purposes, we'll just say no. We can skip the starting index. Tags, I do want to give it a tag because I want to know whenever someone comes from Squarespace and what they were signing up for. So I'm going to name this Consultant Workbook. So Squarespace Consultant Workbook. That's just so anytime I look at this person in the future, I'll know that that's where they came from. Now, here's the important part, custom fields. So within Drip, when you go to subscribers and you go to custom fields, you'll see all the custom fields that are created. As you can see, I have first name, I have full name, I have last name, and I have a bunch of other things. So these are already created in Drip. That's totally fine. The thing that we don't have created already, so custom fields map back up to column headers, right? So we have email address, we have first name, we have last name. We don't have business type. So a custom field can only be created when it's attached to a person for the first time. So I've never actually collected business type information, so it needs to be created. And we'll do that here. So here's where we're going to be mapping data. So custom fields, first I want to tell it, hey, in my first name custom field, I want to make sure, let's do it this way. Let's match it here. Oops. So this is all I'm doing. I'm getting the custom field from Drip and pasting it in here. If you don't have that custom field created yet, like business type, I'll show you what you can do. So first name in Drip, I want it to be matched to first name here on my Google Sheet. And then remember, I'm also collecting last name, right? So let's go ahead and pull the last name exactly as I have it in Drip. Put it here, because this is all Drip custom fields, and match it to last name here. Now here's the extra part. I have business type, but I don't have business type here. So that needs to be created. So I'm going to go ahead and create it now. Business underscore type. Drip does not take spaces, so you need to put an underscore. And then here, I'm going to say business type. And there, all my fields are matched up. You can leave this as is, hit continue. It's basically telling you here, hey, here's what I'm going to be taking from you. Hit create and continue. Voila, we're done. So now the data has been collected. I want to turn my Zap on. And I have a lot of demos going on here, so that's why this is showing up. That won't show up for you. Don't worry about that, because I just have a maximum now. Now what I want to do is go to subscriber, and guess what? I'm now in there. Pretty easy. And if we open that up, we'll see that I've been subscribed to the Consultant Welcome Series. And if we go into my custom fields, we'll see that business type is service, First name is Jennifer, last name is Nelson. It's all there. And that's all you need to do to create subscriber entries within Drip when it's coming from your Squarespace site. So all of that in under 15 minutes.